Blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning on KIDO Talk Radio. Joining us now is Phelim McInerney to talk about the new film Gosnell, the untold story of America's most prolific serial killer. Phelim, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
So how did this film happen?
Well, I happened to be in Philadelphia once on a documentary, and I'm a journalist, and I heard this crazy story going on, murder trial going on down in the local courthouse. I went down there and realized that this was the craziest story I'd ever heard. This was a true crime story. It was amazing evidence. But the most amazing thing was going on behind me. There was no journalist covering it at all, no national media. This is America's most prolific serial killer. This is a man who's involved in something, that's a major talking point. He was an abortion doctor, but the mainstream media didn't want to cover that because they didn't want to do anything to make the abortion industry appear negative. So I came home to Los Angeles and I said to my wife, Michael Hinney, I said, we're covering this, we're doing this story somehow. And she goes, no, we don't do abortion. And I ordered the transcripts for her. She read them after a day or two, and then she said, we're doing this.
So how did you cover it?
Well, we've made a movie now. We've made a movie. We've made this movie, Gosnell. We wrote a book first, which became a New York Times bestseller, and now we've made this movie. It stars Dean Cain, directed by Nick Searcy. It's a dramatization of the trial of America's most prolific serial killer. That's the full name of the film, Gosnell, the trial of America's most prolific serial killer. And it's not gory. I want to tell people it's not gory, but it's very important. It is entertaining. It's a movie. It's a very important movie. Hollywood wants us to feel. The mainstream media wants us to feel. And we need people to come out. It's opening nationally, everywhere, hopefully in Idaho, and everywhere across America on October the 12th. And we need people to turn up. We need people to make it a success. So Hollywood gets the message. The cover-up stops now. I mean, the media didn't want to cover this at the beginning. Eventually they were shamed into it. But, let's shame Hollywood into making decent movies again.
Well, what did you learn by creating this movie?
I think before this movie, my wife and I, we would describe ourselves as neutral on abortion. And I think one of the things I learned pretty quickly was, there's no such thing as neutral on abortion. If you're neutral on abortion, you're pro-abortion. And, you're perfectly entitled to be, but, you have to be honest and say that's what you are. And I'll tell you, we're not neutral on abortion now. We've learned a lot. And we want people to learn a lot too. That's the great thing about a court case is you can't give political slogans in a court case. You can't give political talking points. You have to give the evidence. You have to describe what it really is. And that's what we learned,
How evil was Gosnell, or is Gosnell?
Well, very. I mean, he killed babies born alive. He killed his own patients. He was done for killing his own patients. We interviewed him in prison, where he sort of veered between creepy uncle, the very creepy uncle, to, hey, I'm a charismatic dude, just an innocent man, railroaded. We interviewed him. He kept putting his hand on my wife's knee during the interview. He lied all the time, but he's a charming. He ran the abortion clinic. It was like a cult, But I think that was part of his charm. That's how he was able to keep killing. This is why people don't want the story of Gosnell out there, because this will damage abortion. This will make people think twice about abortion. The NPR, that great liberal radio station, a taxpayer-funded radio station, by the way, they wouldn't let us take advertising on their station to promote the movie. They wouldn't let us even describe him as an abortion doctor, even though they have in the past described him as an abortion doctor. So, the establishment forces are against this film. It's coming out on October the 12th. People need to support us.
Well, we appreciate it. What's your website?
Oh, gosnellmovie.com. You'll get all the trailer there and everything. Nick Searcy's directing, Dean Cain starring. So gosnellmovie.com.
Well, we appreciate that, sir. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. We apologize for the bad phone there, but these things happen. Whatever happened to landlines, right? Brenda, Boise, Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Brenda.
Good morning, Kevin. Real quick, I live very simply. I go to the library to get on computers. I don't have a smartphone, so I was wondering if with your resources there at 580 KIDO, you guys could find out, were there red Solo cups 36 years ago?
What's that? What?
Were there red Solo cups 36 years ago regarding Kavanaugh?
Right.
So that's all I have to say.
You got me on that one, Brenda. That was a good one.
Find out.
All right. Well, thank you.
Have a great day.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Take care.
Thank you, Brenda. That's an interesting point. Were there red Solo cups 15 years ago or 35, 36 years ago?
A lot of people
certainly need a better process.
Or Z on that committee. But my point is the Republicans, as far as we know, the Republicans did not have this information early. Only Senator Feinstein did, when she could have handled it confidentially and privately. Instead, she chose to sit on it.
Well, we know
and
this.
To hold
Republicans
that card
had
and play it at the most opportune political moment.
All right, I
her.
hear you, Steve.
It was a devious and diabolical move by her.
See, here you go. The Democrats can't get away from this, and the libs just let it go. The libs in the press. And maybe there needs to be a conservative network. A lot of people believe that Fox News is not conservative anymore. You know, we have our friends Tea Party Bob with the Gem State Patriot, gemstatepatriot.com. I think he wants to rebut some allegations that were made against him yesterday. He's fired up. But, you know, when you take a look at you have that One American News, something like that. They really need to hire Bill O'Reilly, just my own opinion, that you didn't ask for on that one. So here we have CNN. Never mind that Dianne Feinstein held this thing till the last minute. Never mind that there is no substantial collaboration with these allegations. Never mind. And I love how Chris Cuomo says, well, it needs to be a better process. You mean like the process where the libs get in 90, 94 votes to 6? That's what happened to the libs. Didn't happen to Judge Kavanaugh. Well, Neil Gorsuch, he wasn't replacing the swing vote. That's why.
All right, final word to you, Anna.
Here's the bottom line. This entire discussion about process is a nice distraction and deflection. But the issue at hand is whether we are going to put in the Supreme Court a man who has been credibly accused of sexual assault and after that has been revealed.
Credibly accused of sexual assault. You know, these people just say these things that you wouldn't say to your worst enemy. And this is why, and this is what we fight here. This is what we fight here every day when people say, I don't want to get involved in politics. You know, I wrote about this in Montana. There was a pub that Donald Trump Jr. and Kimberly Foyle were going to have a rally for. The pub goes, I don't want to take part in politics. And when your taxes go up and your politicians lie to you and you have no control over your life, you can go back to, I should have listened to Kevin Miller. I should have listened to Sean Hannity. I should have listened to Lars Larson. That's where we are right now. Because they're just making it up, sadly.
To be something very different than what he has painted himself as for the last several weeks. A man who has now been revealed as being a liar in front of Congress, a man who is tearing this country apart, the social fiber of this country, and a man who's been revealed to be a partisan attack dog who's going to be incapable of the judicial independence required to sit in the highest court in the land in a lifetime appointment.
Well, let's see what happens when the report comes out. The votes will be cast, and then all will be judged.
Right. We love how the media just portrays this. So at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, if you missed it because maybe you were sleeping, maybe you were just waking up, this is what we started with last hour. I just want to share these comments with you. when you get a chance to listen to Senator Cory Booker saying Kavanaugh is done. Innocence or guilt doesn't matter.
So my hope is that just beyond the vicious partisan rancor that is going on, beyond the accusations, we don't lose sight of what this moral moment is about in this country. And ultimately ask ourselves the question, is this the right person to sit on the highest court in the land for a lifetime appointment when their credibility has been challenged by intimates, people that knew the candidate well as a classmate? When his temperament has been revealed in an emotional moment where he used language that frankly shocked a lot of us. And then ultimately, not whether he's innocent or guilty, this is not a trial, but ultimately.
That's right. Language that shocked a lot of us. This is a guy who has his own groping issues well documented and substantiated. This is a guy who broke the rules to reveal stuff about Judge Kavanaugh. You know, I could admire the libs if they really were against Judge Kavanaugh. Maybe Dianne Feinstein, whatever. I could admire her, the crusty, well-weathered dame who's going to, make sure that this doesn't happen. You could almost respect that. But really what it comes down to, Booker and Harris and the usual suspects, they're not even original. They just want to be the next Obama, the next leader of the great progressive wave that destroys America that Obama started and Hillary Clinton was supposed to finish. This is not about a good man, a family man, an honest man. When's the last time Cory Booker or Senator Harris or Senator Hirano went and worked for a charity for their church? When's the last time that they coached a girls' basketball team? It really is a case of two Americas here. The America of Brett Kavanaugh, the meritocracy, and those that seek to destroy it.
Ultimately, have enough questions be raised that we should not move on to another candidate. And that long list put together by the Heritage Foundation and the Federalist Society, move on to another candidate, because ultimately the Supreme Court is not an entitlement. Just because you went to Yale or were president of your class doesn't entitle you to the Supreme Court.
I wonder if Senator Booker has ever argued for entitlements in his life.
This is a sacred institution. And the people that should be on it, whether you disagree with their political or judicial philosophy at all, the people who should be on the Supreme Court should preserve the integrity of the court and be beyond the reproach of the.
So, in other words, you can be lied to, spit on, smeared, called a sexual whatever, and just go, thank you, may I have another?
These difficult partisan times.
Right. Now, who makes these difficult and partisan times? Senator Pete in Mountain Home with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Pete.
Good morning, Kevin. And I would like, before I get into my point, to request that you guys play the theme song for Judge Kavanaugh today, Tom Petty, Stand My Ground.
Not right. We don't back down. Yep.
I'd like to hear that. But anyway, speaking of judicial independence.
I think this is the only talk show in America where we have requests for music, but that's fine. Yeah.
Speaking of judicial independence, didn't Ruth Bader Ginsburg have to apologize last year for coming out against Donald Trump in the election?
She did.
I seem to recall there was a lack of judicial independence there. And I think what their real problem is now that they have spent so much time and effort trying to destroy this man that they have almost guaranteed that when he gets on the court, he's not going to be real sympathetic to anything that the left wants. And if I were him, I would, they did that to Clarence Thomas, and you look at Clarence Thomas's decisions, and it's interesting over 30 or 40 years how a lot of more or less right-wing judges tend to ooze sort of toward the left. Clarence Thomas has not.
No, he hasn't, finally.
And the other thing I think that terrifies the libs is that Kavanaugh believes that the Constitution means what it says. And it has to be taken as it is written, not as you think it should have been written.
Well, and that's what they don't want on the Supreme Court. Someone that reads the Constitution says, yep, there it is.
Yeah.
You take a look at the people that have betrayed us, Roberts, Souter, and this is just, and let's just get philosophical, this is just, they're fighting destiny. We should have had a conservative Supreme Court back during Bush 1 when David Souter turned out to be a closet lib.
Yeah.
John Roberts, the great betrayer,
yeah.
Chief Justice, allows Obamacare to keep going. I don't know. Maybe he gets money from the medical industrial complex. There's no constitutional reason for it. DACA, unconstitutional. Are we ruled by emotion or by law?
Well, and they want to keep the court at 4-4 because what that does is it lets those fruitcake judges in the Ninth Circuit set law for America. Because when they come out with a ruling against whatever Trump wants to do and it goes to the Supreme Court, it can't be taken with a 4-4 split.
Right. You're right.
So yeah, let's. I sure hope that we can find enough Republicans to stand up and say, yeah, we're putting this guy on the court. I've got to give it to Mitch McConnell.
Well, they've done one thing. They've united the Republican Party. Pete, I got to run, but thank you.
Thank you, sir.
580-5436, 580-KIDO. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio.
The seventh time the FBI has looked into Judge Kavanaugh's background, and this information comes on top of what was already been one of the most thorough and most exhaustive Senate reviews of any Supreme Court nominee in the entire history of our country.
Whatever you think about what Judge Kavanaugh did at 17 or 18, think about what he said at age 53. Think about the credibility of the man now as a grown adult and a judge. Think about whether we want to put someone who has been so partisan with questionable credibility on the court,
right,
or whether there is someone better.
If he went from sexual assault to lying to a drunk, Don Jr. actually spelled it out. Well, I'll let Don Jr. say that. By the way, you're listening to 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio.
At the end of that meal, all the guys were like, hey, Don, let's go back to the Trump Hotel on Pennsylvania Avenue. We'll hang out in the lobby. Some of them will have a couple drinks. Now, I know that in this week in particular, you're not allowed to have a beer if you are a conservative. Now, if you're a liberal, you can do cocaine and you can be the president, but that's okay. It's okay. We'll hold ourselves to a higher standard. It's fine.
Thank you, Don Jr. Traffic and weather together. Terry Gabbard. And we appreciate that. Coming up, we'll hear from Pro-Life and Tom. I know how they are. They want their time, so we will get to them coming up. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. So it just doesn't matter. It really just doesn't matter if someone is innocent or guilty because they had the audacity to be a man, to fight back, to do what they should. They're disqualified. We'll talk a little bit about that. Earlier, we were talking about driving and just how crazy it is getting. We'll get your phone calls on that. And Paulette Jordan, look, she's done. We all know that she's done. I think they should just call this race. Legitimately, I think that for the sake of the state Democratic Party, because I care about the Democrats, they should just call this race. I'll tell you why next. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Doug.
Good morning, Kevin.
Oh, it's okay. You can dance a little if you'd like. No, my dancing days are behind me. That's more for your sake than for mine. If you can't laugh, what can you do? Coming up, we will hear from Hank, Pro-Life, and Tom, taking your calls about the issues that matter to you every morning right here on KIDO Talk Radio. So, do you like the e-cigarettes? Are you down with the e-cigarettes? Well, let's go to Evan Brown, Fox News Radio, with the very latest. Evan, good morning.
Good morning.
So the feds are looking at e-cigarettes possibly and a crackdown maybe?
Well, there has been some concern, or a great concern, that a number of e-cigarettes, either manufacturers and or retailers, are selling the devices to underage persons. So that would mean, people under the age of 18. One of the biggest manufacturers, which goes by the name Juul Labs, Juul spelled J-U-U-L, and they make and market a product called the Juul, J-U-U-L, which is an electronic cigarette, is under suspicion or under investigation for this because the increasing number of minors that are using these devices seem to be using, majority of them seem to be using ones manufactured by Juul. So the FDA arrived at their offices, made off with a lot of documents. Juul's CEO says, we've always complied with any investigation. In fact, we've turned over tens of thousands of documents ourselves. We don't want minors using the product. But in the meantime, there are still many minors that are using the product, and the government is obviously wanting to investigate this, where the problem lies, whether it's on the manufacturing side, whether it's on the retail shop side, which are, independent small business smoke shops that are selling these things, or if it's online commerce where these kids are able to buy these things without having to show ID.
How will the industry respond? Is it too soon to tell?
Well, certainly too soon to tell, but if the industry wants to avoid lots of fines and increased regulation and certainly increased scrutiny, they're going to work with the government to make sure minors don't acquire their products. It is a legal product and legal for adults, and the use of nicotine vapors is deemed not so harmful or not harmful enough that adults can still use it legally. But for children, it is, again, it's nicotine. It's going to affect developing bodies the way cigarette nicotine would, and that is it would have a deleterious effects on nervous system and brain development and other things. Not to mention the inhaling of vapors of God knows what chemicals are in there can't be safe either. So if the industry wants to avoid the government really being on its back, then it's going to do its best to comply to make sure that underage persons are not getting a hold of their product and using it.
Eben, we appreciate it. Thank you for the report.
You got it.
All right, Eben Brown joining us. Kevin Miller in the morning. KIDO Talk Radio. Sometimes a comment is so good, we're just going to share it with you again and again and again.
At the end of that meal, all the guys were like, hey, Don, let's go back to the Trump Hotel on Pennsylvania Avenue. We'll hang out in the lobby. Some of them will have a couple drinks. Now, I know that in this week in particular, you're not allowed to have a beer if you are a conservative. Now, if you're a liberal, you can do cocaine and you can be the president, but that's okay. It's okay. We'll hold ourselves to a higher standard. It's fine.
He's telling the truth. Tom in Nampa, thanks for your patience. You're on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller. Hey, Tom.
Hey, I love that clip. You got to play that over and over. I was having a hard time keeping my breakfast down after listening to Cory Booker, the moral arbiter of the Senate. Oh, God, give me a break. He wasn't there in 1997 when the Senate considered articles of impeachment voted by the House for a trial of the Senate. And how many Democrats that were there in 1997 who are currently serving in the United States Senate voted for impeachment? Do you remember?
3, maybe? I don't know.
Not one.
Oh.
Not one. Now, it takes a 2/3 votes of the Senate to impeach a president. So the Republicans weren't even near that vote. And now where was at least a token vote of maybe 1 or 2 Democrat senators to vote against a man who had brought a total disgrace to the institution of the presidency? There wasn't it. So all this posturing by Cory Booker is nothing but a thinly veiled attempt to put what would be a good analogy? Well, I'll scrap the good analogy, but it's trying to, scab over what they're really after. They don't want this man or any other conservative on the court, period. And I don't care. They would sit there and filibuster or stall and stall and stall till the cows come home. So I think McConnell is right in calling for a vote. Now, one good aspect about all this, sorry that Kavanaugh's got to, sort of be the guy that bears the brunt of all this, because I hear now Harvard isn't even, he's not even going to teach that course he does now as a result of all this. But this has been the one thing that has stimulated Republican voters to decide to get to the polls. And I think it's galvanized us, and I think there's a certain amount of rage here at the way Kavanaugh's been mistreated. And I think I just saw a poll on the internet here a few minutes ago where the Democratic enthusiasm to get out and vote, which was 10% more than Republican, is now down to just about a wash. So we will see shortly on Election Day just how the country feels about all this hard expression crap. I think Graham picked the right word.
Tom?
So anyway, that's about enough for me, and I think I'll go have another omelet.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. You have a great day. Pro-Life joins us now. If you want to join the conversation, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. And if you missed it on the Senate floor yesterday, here's Senator David Perdue of Georgia.
Of the Constitution. Seriously. That's irresponsible for somebody in this body. That person said, she said that before Judge Kavanaugh was even announced as a nominee. Worst of all, another one of my Democratic colleagues said anyone who supports Judge Kavanaugh's confirmation is complicit in the evil. I just don't understand that, Mr. President.
What do you think, Mr. Pro-Life?
Well, the Republicans have the greatest opportunity. They've always had it, but they never take it. They'll let the Democrats slander anybody, like Roy Moore, the president, all this Russiagate thing, and guys like Jeff Sessions just sit there and they don't fire Rosenstein. They don't do anything to clean up the deep state people in their own departments. The Republicans are really wimpy, and if they really took these people to the cleaners and they kept this process going until the Democrats cried uncle, we don't want any more of this Kavanaugh hearing, because they would bring anybody that accused and the Democrats supported, they would bring them into the hearing, and then they'd debunk them and show that they were lying. It would go on and on and on. They could win the midterms, and they could just put the Democrats in their place, but they never do it. The Clintons were able to survive Bill Clinton's adultery, and the Republicans should have put him in their place.
Well, his adultery, his perjury, and you had people that did not want to hold him accountable.
Right. No, the Republicans are way too wimpy, but you can, in their language, say abortion is murder, but they will never use those words. They will never say that. And the Gosnell movie that's coming up, people should go and see that, and they'll see that abortion is murder. And courts can determine that. And, but Mr. Kavanaugh, he's wimpy about the abortion issue. And if we can't even solve baby murder, we can't solve anything. And, the Republicans let the gay marriage issue and, just let the Supreme Court do that. And lots of states could have rebelled and just said, no, we're not going to do that. So that's our real problem, is that the wimpiness of the Republicans. And if people need to be held accountable for lying, there needs to be more libel cases. There isn't hardly any. And
well, I think there's going to be one with the president in the New York Times. Pro-Life, God bless. Thank you for the call. Hank in Boise with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Hank.
Good morning. There are three presidents that were known cocaine users. One is John Kennedy, the other one Clinton, and of course Obama himself. I might point out in John Kennedy's case, the cocaine came in through a girlfriend of his, Mary Guilford Myers, who bought both weed, marijuana, and cocaine in the White House during their affair in 1962 and 63. And by the way, incidentally, she was brutally murdered a year after Kennedy's assassination. She was a jogger on Chesapeake Canal that runs along the Potomac River, Chesapeake and Potomac, and she was brutally murdered the year after. Clinton was known for cocaine usage when he was governor of Arkansas and also as president. And, of course, Obama used cocaine in school, and according to reports, has been using cocaine again since he's left the presidency. So the thing is, the Democrats use their standards against us, but they have no standards themselves. So I'll leave it at
does that apply to state Democrats in Idaho?
I think to a lesser extent. You know, Paula Jordan is the rise of the younger, more radicalized Democrats into power in Idaho, and she will carry legislative districts 19, 17, probably 16, and it'll be close to 18, and Blaine County, and we're there, I think, in 23. She will not win anything else in the state. So, that's my take on that particular race.
All right, thank you, Hank. Let's go to Conservative Steve with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Conservative Steve.
Let not your heart be troubled, my brothers.
My man.
It's all good. You know, just like Trump said in the beginning, well, maybe this FBI investigation will be a blessing in disguise. Bingo. You know, like Rush said yesterday, the attorney that the Republicans hired, everybody thought she was asking stupid, dumb questions, but she actually caught poor, innocent little Dr. Ford in, 3 or 4 perjury statements. First of all, you know, have you ever assisted in the lie detector, helping anybody? Have you ever been involved in coaching and teaching? Which her boyfriend of 6-8 years came out and said she absolutely did. He witnessed it, you know. So they've got her with perjury already, and it's interesting that now the Feinstein and the demos they don't want this FBI. They don't want it released. So we'll see if it gets leaked or not. Because I think the FBI investigation has probably shown some things that they don't want everybody to know. You know, so be careful what you wish for. You know, is my statement here. You know, they wanted it so bad. Now the buzz is that they don't want anybody to see it. So we shall see. It'll be interesting. One document only for the senators to see? No cell phones in the room. No, nothing. This is supposed to be top secret. We'll see how fast it gets on the internet and who does it. It'll be interesting to see. So we shall see, my friend.
We shall. Don't sing it, bring it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Because, you know, if Kavanaugh hangs tough and Trump hangs tough and support him, then we'll get this through, man. And thank goodness we will, because I believe exactly what one of your callers said this morning. Hey, they've backed a Wolverine in a corner like Kavanaugh, and let me tell you, it's going to cost them down the road here, man. And I don't blame him what they've done to that poor guy. And then they try to accuse him of having poor temperament. My gosh, you're assassinating a guy, you're destroying his family and his life, and he's expected to sit there like a little lamb and say nothing? My goodness, what man wouldn't stand up and defend himself, for Pete's sake? You know, it's going to work out, my friend. The good Lord is in charge here, man. And you know what? The suburban women are also retaliating, because they're looking around saying, okay, wait a second. My husband, my son, oh, my God, somebody can do this to my husband, you know, and claim something 20 years ago and destroy our lives. So it's actually going to backfire on them, Kevin, I believe. I believe this whole thing is going to work to our favor, man, truly.
Conservative Steve, thank you.
You, as friend. Have a great day, and God bless, my friend.
God bless you. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio.
Areas. We're not only overtaxing our working poor, but let's start with some 3 big ones. We see major mismanagement and overspending on not only transportation, but our infrastructure in some areas, but I'm looking at our utilities when it comes down to how much we pay on restructuring dams. We have high utility rates here in our state, mainly servicing utilities to other states like California, which have cost taxpayers roughly $700 million which is really unfortunate because I'd like to save that money and reinvest that back into the state of Idaho.
There we have it, Paulette Jordan from her College of Idaho forum with Lieutenant Governor Brad Little talking about the ways to save money. Good luck with that. Kevin Miller in the morning here, KIDO Talk Radio. So, look, this is the Republicans' biggest gift ever. Paulette Jordan talking about getting rid of the dams, getting rid of this, getting rid of that, based on really what? You know, her win over A.J. Belukoff was stunning. It showed the rise of the young, millennial-led, Bernie Sanders-driven liberal elite, getting rid of the old guard. But now she's in the big leagues. Look, she's going to have these forums and such. But again, the machine of the state Republican Party, or let me correct myself, the machine of the little campaign aided by outside groups will demolish her. In fact, I'm sure they'll be sending some of their money to other places. Why do I think this is not a race to watch? Well, because you're not hearing about it. There's no TV ads. There's no radio ads. Maybe there's some direct mail, but look, you don't vote on direct mail. You vote on what you hear, on what you listen to. It's based on emotion. It's based on research. When you hear someone's voice, you can tell whether or not they're credible, right? Like I said, I expect Brad Little to get 70% of the vote. Easy. That is if they start putting the wheels to the machine. I mean, but we're almost a month away from Election Day. Not much has really been going on. Brad Little continues to work behind the scenes, shoring up his coalition. Paulette Jordan had a chance because the state Republican Party, well, let me say the state of Republicans after the primary, hard feelings, but not hard enough to go her way. Too radical, too extreme, and too inexperienced. Now, again, you're not going to hear that from other people because, look, they want to have Miss Jordan on. And full disclosure, we have sought Miss Jordan on, and I am of the belief, and this is my belief in you, that if people do not value what we do, then we don't really need them. This is your program with me as your humble sidekick, right? We're not for everybody. We're for the right people. And we'll always be standing by you. Hopefully one day we can live up to that old model by our friend Bill O'Reilly. We're looking out for you, right? Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning.